Hello everyone and welcome to a new Gaming Academy tutorial. In this video I will show you step by step how to play Xerath Mid, what build to use, and how to climb very easily with this champion. But before we start, I noticed that 99% of those watching haven't subscribed yet, and that's a big question mark for me. Watch until the end and don't forget to hit that button if you like it. Let's start from the beginning. Xerath is a mid lane champion that works very well as a support, with an annoying super range and very high damage. As runes I always use sorcery with Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Absolute Focus and Scorch, and as secondary runes domination with Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. I play at 10% attack speed, an adaptive force rune and 10% tenacity. In my opinion, the Arcane Comet is very useful for poke both in the early game and the late game, and Scorch helps a lot in late game. Many Xerath players prefer Inspiration, but I think that the Cheap Shot is much more useful for a burst damage, just as the Ultimate Hunter is very useful in late for the shortest R duration. As skills, I start with Q followed by W and the last time and stun. Also I max Q and W and leave the stun last. The build is a little more complex due to the new rules of the game, in which you can create whatever build you want, without the restrictions of mythical items. As a general build that I use, I always buy Storm Surge first followed by Luden's Companion. After which, depending on the match, I buy Shadowflame or Horizon Focus. The last Rabadon item for as much AP as possible. But there are games when I don't go for this version of the build because there are more tanks or bruisers in the enemy team, so for this version of matches I buy Luden's Companion first item, followed by Liandry's Torment. After that Shadowflame with Rabadon's Deathcap for more AP and burst damage, and the last item I make my Void Staff. There are a lot of players who prefer to play Xerath's Embrace, but I personally don't think Xerath needs that much mana, which is why I don't include him in my build. I always play with Flash and Teleport because in my opinion, Xerath is a farm champion who shows his potential only after the second item. At the same time he dies very easily, and in this way with the Teleport, you can return to the lane very easily so as not to lose a lot of experience and gold. But if you play him support, then Ignite is much more useful to win the lane at level 2. Now that we have talked about build and runes, let's see when it is recommended to play Xerath and when not. He has a very good weave clear and burst damage, a very large range that allows you to play safe and not die, but the reason why I like him is that he is able to help other lanes only with R from the middle of the map. This means you don't have to roam every time and just press R to kill someone or help the team kill someone, after which you can continue your game on mid. But a champion with so many advantages must also have weak parts, and here I can tell you that the hard CC is your grave. It's an immobile, squishy champion that you easily fall behind if you get ganked or die. Precisely for this reason, I will show you a list of the champions against which I play with him and the champions against which I avoid choosing him. But this is on a statistical level. It doesn't mean that you can't win even if you're against a counter, just as it doesn't mean that you can't lose if you're countering another champion. And to win as often as possible, watch the video until the end because we are moving to the laning phase. In laning phase you have to strike a balance between harassing your lane opponent and focusing on last hitting minions. Try to hit them with your Q as they walk in their minion wave, as this will accomplish two goals at once, poking them and shoving the wave. While it's not always a good idea to mindlessly hard push, as this leaves you susceptible to ganks, you tend to thrive when you can force your opponent onto their tower, as you can spam your Q at them and force them to miss CS, eventually forcing them out of lane entirely. If you do have to farm under your own turret, your E does a lot more damage than an auto attack and is very helpful for making sure you don't miss minions. A caster minion that has taken one turret shot will die to your E and one auto attack at almost all stages of the game. Try to hit your opponent with either Q or W every time you have your Arcane Comet and Mana Flow Band available. Maximizing the use of these runes will give you a huge boost in power during lane. Also in the laning phase, we can also discuss roaming and gold control. Roaming on Xerath is a funny thing because you're very weak if caught alone in the river, so unless you know where the enemy mid laner and jungler are, it's usually a bad idea to just wander up or down the map to help out bot or top. Instead, your best roaming tool is your ultimate. You have 5,000 units range is really a hard number to grasp, so I show you some images demonstrating where you can effectively utilize your R range. Try to constantly keep one eye on the minimap and the health bars of your teammates, and if you see a fight break out in the jungle or one of the side lanes, try to shove the wave into your opponent, retreat to your turret, and walk through your jungle and avoid the river until your ultimate is in range to drop some damage. You can then follow up in person if needed, or return to your lane hopefully without missing any CS. Roaming in League of Legends is one of the most overlooked and underappreciated strategies in the game. If done correctly, roaming can allow you to apply pressure in multiple lanes at once. Believe me when I tell you, the range that Xerath has in lane is also the reason why I play him in mid. Very often the difference between mid lane players is made by roaming or farming. Xerath is the champion with whom you can roam from the middle of the map, after which you can continue your farm without losing minions, while other mid laners are forced to reach the respective lane and help their team. Roaming is usually done during the early to mid stages of the game, especially during the laning phase. This is because the likelihood of gaining a kill or achieving your goal is far more probable, since enemies will be more likely to be in isolation or fewer numbers. There is a whole roaming mechanic and league that you have to master, and I will soon make a special video for it. I've already started it, it's on the way. Before we move on to the mid-game and late-game phase, if you like the video and the work I put in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for even more content. In mid-lane and late-game phase, your job is to kill the enemy team's backline without ever having to leave the comfort of your own backline. You are not and will never be a tank shredder, so leave that to your ADC if at all possible. In a team fight, you want to be sitting as far away as possible from the enemy team's engage, while remaining in range to drop all your damage on their squishies. If you have a Jarvan, a Malphite, a Diana, a Zac, or really any champion that can apply group CC, hold your damaging abilities for their ult, and once in place use your W and Q on the grouped enemies. If done right, this basically guarantees a one team fight. Save your stun for self-peel or if you have the opportunity to catch fed enemies. In the late game, your EWQ combo should do at least 80% of any ad's health bar. If you can achieve this, you have a very good chance of winning any subsequent 5v4 team fight. Mostly you just need to remain hyper aware of what's going on around you and be careful not to stand anywhere in range of any sort of dive ability. At the same time, Xerath's ultimate is the most interesting. Used properly in late game, you can take out a champion or even two without them even knowing what hit them. Now a bonus for those who want to test more than the normal build. There is another option that I am testing right now, namely Xerath with First Strike. I use inspiration with First Strike, magical footwear, biscuit delivery, time warp tonic and sorcery, with absolute focus and gathering storm. For more damage, I use 1 adaptive force runes, 10% attack speed, and a 10% tenacity rune. I always play this build with teleport and only on mid lane. As a build, I use the same items presented previously in the build with Arcane Comet, the difference is made by the runes. Both variants are very effective, and I recommend choosing according to your playing style. From what I noticed, Xerath is not a very played champion in low elo, but he is the champion that can get you out of low elo. Believe me guys, but practice is necessary. You can learn Xerath by entering the practice tool, you can play a few normals before trying him at rank, and then you can get free LP by playing him on mid. And for those who will tell me that it is not possible and that it is not good, I want to inform you that this season I reached the level of Master, and I am almost Grandmaster just playing with Xerath. And if you ask me why? It is very easy to win the match by the huge difference in damage that I give with this champion without the enemies being able to get close to me. Of course, you have to get the skills right, but the more you play, the easier it will be. With that being said, this was the guide about Xerath, and I'm waiting for you to come with your proposals in the comments about what guides you would like to see. Good luck in the ranked matches, see you in the next video.